of 2021. Now, due to my beliefs, I can't wish everybody a happy new year just because, like, my cutoff day for saying happy new year was the 3rd. And I feel like if I say it now, it's not gonna sound so good, you know? So do that with what you will. How was everybody's new year? Han, how was your new year?
It was pretty good. It was really chill. I think we all played. I played games with. Yeah, and then watched the Two Towers with my partner.
Okay,
That was it.
cool. Fee, how was your new year?
It was great. I got to celebrate Atlantic, Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific New Year's on my Discord.
That's a lot of New
So
Year's.
I was up until 4 a.m.
Jesus Christ.
Actually, I was up until 5:30, but I made sure that I was up for every New Year. So every hour we would stop and like be like, "Whoa!" and then like party, and then we would continue playing games.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
we just did that.
Jesus.
It was nuts.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's 5 New Years that you celebrated?
Essentially, yeah.
Oh God.
And I
It
know
was
we
fun.
were playing games for like 8 hours.
Oh my
So
God.
we started like an hour and a half before then, and then we continued after. So it was crazy.
I can
It
imagine.
was a lot of fun.
We have a newcomer on the show, Sash. How's it going, Sash?
Hello.
How was your New Year's?
Pretty uneventful. Over here in California, everything's pretty much closed. I mean, like even for takeout, when
Yeah.
you want to go in and order, you have to wait like outside the property and come back in 15 minutes later to see if your food's ready. It's that bad.
Damn.
So all I did was stay at home. I zoomed with some of my friends here as well. I actually fell asleep at 10. Luckily, I woke up again at like 11:30 or so, and
Oh,
then
perfect.
yeah, went back on Zoom with them. And then as soon as it hit midnight, I went back to sleep. Really, really boring. Really, really boring. But
Okay.
compared to other years, but
Well,
it's a new year, and it was
stay
great.
positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have John returning. John, how was your New Year's?
It wasn't not not really much happened. I had to work New Year's Day at 5 a.m. So I went to bed at like 7 just to be safe. Around midnight, a couple of my friends and my parents texted me midnight Eastern time, and then I said hello. But I went to bed like right away, so not a
Okay.
whole lot.
Well, my apologies. You know, Uh,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah, five
also
is brutal.
this was kind of the year for that to be. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
That's working a grocery store during COVID. Be
yeah.
like that. So.
I know the struggles. My New Year was kind of okay. You know, like it was me and my family and my girlfriend, and then we waited for the ball to drop, and then that happened, and then we watched weird people on TV doing uh, performances, and it was very weird. But yeah,
Was Times Square like completely empty?
I don't think so. Like the way that they portrayed it, it didn't look like it was. But like they also had people in. They boxed everything up, so that also kind of makes sense as to why it looked like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a picture of like like Times Square, the crosswalks were completely empty, and then my friend in Miami is like, dude, I feel like the club down across the street from me had more people than all of New York celebrating New Year's.
Yeah, because like for some stupid reason, people decided to go down to Times Square and celebrate New Year's. Like, I get it, that's the thing that you do, but like, this is not really the right time for you to be doing that. But
Hmm.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Fiona, thank you for hosting. I really appreciate that. I want to start off by doing a couple announcements. We are coming out with an anime review podcast. which is going to be very exciting. Ryan is going to be hosting that. I don't know for sure when it's going to come out, but I believe he said it's going to come out this month sometime soon. We are also doing, me and Eric are hosting an MCU podcast, which technically might be the cross media show, but like how we do with Attack on Titan, just reviewing WandaVision episodes as they come out. That's going to be a Monday's podcast. Yeah, very fun. I'm excited for that. I think that's pretty much it with announcements. I'm still working on the website. Hopefully that comes out before the end of this year. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Eric is going to be doing his Destiny podcast. That's going to be, he had told me it's going to be every quarter, but he's hoping to see if he can try to do more of that, which is great. So let's get into it. We're here to talk about one thing and one thing only. Disney Pixar Soul. What was everybody's first initial reactions? Holland.
It's easily one of my new favorite Pixar.
Whoa. Okay.
And I watched
Wow.
it like right after Wonder Woman, which we talked about last time.
Mhm.
And thank God I watched this after. So it was a palate cleanser.
Yeah, I could imagine. Also did the same thing, and yeah, it was definitely a palate cleanser. Fee.
It's I watched it again last night. So good.
Ooh, okay. Fee, initial reactions. Oh, initial thoughts.
It was good.
Okay, cool. It was good. All right. Sash.
It was good.
Yeah,
What?
and, one of my favorite Pixar films as well. It's beautifully animated. I did notice that. I went into it completely blind. I didn't see the trailer. I didn't even know what it was about. So it was, yeah, I liked it. I saw it for a second time today. So
Okay, cool. John, what did you think?
I liked it. I'm still wrestling with how I feel within that. But I did enjoy it.
Okay.
Solid movie.
All right, cool. I honestly, when I first had heard that this movie is happening, I thought that they put this movie out to die, because like there was no real advertising for it. It was just that they had put up that, I guess, that little a couple seconds long trailer of the guy walking and he falls down and his soul was just hanging about, and that was it. And I was like, oh no, they're going to screw this up. But Disney Pixar has yet to make a bad movie besides Toy Story 2. So
oh, what? Come on.
Wait, what?
I mean,
Toy Story 2 was amazing.
Toy Story 2 was not a great movie, guys.
Hold up. You said you choose your one bad Pixar movie to be Toy Story 2 when there's Cars and like 2 other sequels that are like
Hey, Cars gave us. Hey, listen. Cars gave us the greatest catchphrase in the world, "Kerchow." You know.
Okay.
All right. And what was the other movies that you were saying? Planes. Sorry, Planes was also a failure.
Isn't Pixar, but I was thinking of
I didn't even
Cars
see that.
2 and like Finding Dory. I'm also not really into Monsters University.
Okay. All right.
Incredibles 2 was kinda,
I feel like Finding Dory was really good.
Finding Dory was kind of good.
it had good jokes.
Yeah. It wasn't their worst
just
movie,
like-
but it also wasn't their best. You know.
It was
Also,
just
like,
more
like,
Dory.
Cuddle Party.
Oh, nice.
Cuddle Party. So, yeah.
I just feel like on the scale of Toy Story 3 to obviously the lowest of the
Okay.
bunch.
Are you saying you didn't cry at the song that plays with Jesse's flashback? Because like that is why Pixar is like a 10 out of 10
That is a
studio.
pinnacle.
Like that is how they got the Academy Award that year.
I'm not saying
That
I
is true.
didn't
That
cry. All I'm saying is that story was kind of meh, you know?
Okay. Well,
All right.
you're wrong.
Okay, I could be wrong.
But-
That's fine. It's my opinion.
There's no could. You are wrong about that because they literally an Academy Award because of that.
That's
particular
objective.
I mean, yeah, but also Joker got an Academy Award, and that movie wasn't good at all.
There's also like 3 other movies that are way better.
You didn't like Joker?
No.
You know what? I think I need to leave.
Okay, let me rephrase.
I'm with you.
Let's take back my Joker. I'm taking that back.
My parents
Suicide
don't like
Squad
those kind of movies.
got
Okay.
an Academy Award, so I don't hold those in high regards. All right.
I did
You got
like
me
Birds
there.
of Prey though. I did like
Birds of Prey was really good. I liked it.
Oh yeah, Birds of Prey. Yeah.
But anyway,
But yeah, Suicide Squad.
Soul. I really like this movie. I'm very glad that it didn't suck. And yeah, that's my initial thoughts. Did anybody have a favorite scene or a favorite part of the movie?
I laughed my ass off when they were like in that little soul area.
Yeah.
Where everyone gets lost, and then she's like, "Well, I've been messing with this guy's basketball team for years," and then she like hits him, and then she's like, and then it's like, "Oh, the Knicks lose again."
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty funny.
So hard. Yeah.
Oh man. Anybody else? Favorite parts?
I adore the scene at the barber shop, specifically like everything where 22 is speaking in his body is great, but then there's a part where like after she's been on a roll for a while where a guy goes, "I want one of those," and points to the lollipops because she's like seems high as fuck. Pretty good joke.
Yeah, definitely.
She's
I want
like,
a
she's got a
lollipop.
cat.
Holland, what was your favorite part of the movie?
I struggled to find like a bad scene in it. But specifically what I always think about is at the end when 22 becomes a lost soul and more or less eats Joe's soul, and he's in there in like all of the darkness and the chaos, and all of her old mentors are raising up and saying back to her all of these things that she heard, but it's kind of in her own voice.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was so, I cried whenever I first saw that scene, and like I sat up and I was just like so focused on it. And I thought it was just a really brilliant representation of depression and trauma, and just whenever like you're a kid, like the things that we say to kids, that becomes their internal voice. And I thought that was really, really well done, and that's easily like one of my favorite parts of that movie.
Absolutely, like that. Exactly how you said it. That scene hit me pretty hard, and I just felt like it was beautifully done. But like the scene that hit me the hardest, where I actually cried, was when he's talking about like when he realizes like that playing music is not really what he's supposed to be doing. Well, I'm saying it wrong, but that's his passion. It's not the same as what he was born on Earth to do. That scene hit me the hardest, where I was like, "Fuck, you got me running
yeah.
for this."
I'm sorry to disrupt.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
So I 100% agree with that scene. It's like, I mean, all of us. I think I really like the thing I really like about it is that all of us have that moment in life, or most of us have that moment in life where it's like, what's my purpose? What do I do? And then we kind of get lost and we go into a dark place. And I think that's what happened to 22 at that moment. Was she was just in a dark place because she didn't know what she was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that was that was a heartbreaking moment for sure.
It was pretty intense.
There was that moment. I'm so sorry, but there was that moment
ahead.
that she said, like, whenever we see Joe and he's at the piano and he's thinking back, like he's looking at all the little pieces that she gathered through her adventure, and he's thinking back, and we hear him say, she's like, I could, my spark could be walking. I'm really good at walking. And he's like, those aren't sparks, 22. That's just regular old living. And we hear him say it in this kind of like, it's got like a lilt to it, the way he says it. And then whenever we are in her depression effectively, we
Mhm.
hear his like dark mask say it, and it's um like that's not a purpose, you idiot, that's just living. And she hears it so differently,
Yeah.
and that's it, like affected her so differently because of all of her mentors in her past, and that kind of like informed the way she heard things from then on. And that, ugh, I could go on about that scene, but anyway.
Agreed. And just if you think about it, it's it, kind of like what Ruben was saying, where it's like you don't really um there's a difference between a purpose and enjoying life. And he was when he was on the subway, he was looking at his like reflection or whatever, and he's like, I'm just like flowing through life without enjoying it, just because I'm so um I'm just all I care about is this jazz show,
Yeah.
that I'm not enjoying life. I'm wasting life that 22 could be having, to because she's actually enjoying the smaller things. And that
Yeah.
part hit me pretty hard too, because that's what a lot of people do. They just go on their routine every single day. They don't appreciate the small things like a sunset, or just how everything feels and stuff like that. And 22 is really enjoying being on Earth and being able to experience all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was just a really deep part of the movie.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like how the movie explained it pretty nice in the way that when people are stuck in a rut, where that guy just got up and he's like, "What am I doing?" and he just destroys everybody's computers. That is definitely a moment
Yeah,
I've had in my life where I'm like, "What the hell am I doing here? Why am I just like going through the going through life like and not enjoying the good stuff?" And this movie just hits like certain spots in my life where I'm like, fuck, yes, I should be going after something I want. I should be not only doing something I'm passionate about, but also like,
yeah, it's like that epiphany basically. It's like, okay, I'm
yeah,
sitting here, but I want to, you could be like, well, I've always wanted to travel, or I wanted to like travel here, or just I want to do these things on my bucket list, but I'm not doing that stuff. I'm sitting here doing
yeah,
something that I hate. Or you're like, oh, I've always wanted to pursue a career in this instead of what I'm doing now. And it could be anything really.
yeah. And it's just an eye opener for me, especially because like as of right now, I am currently going through the motions at my job. Like I'm not really. I wake up in the morning, and I just go to work, and then I come home. Most of the time, I'm just watching TV, doing nothing. When I could be like, I'm trying to do more Twitch streaming on my channel. Like I should be doing that. I should be focusing on what I want in life to excel, to do better, and to make this channel like not only profitable but also like something that people would like to come back to. And it it was a definite eye opener, and I'm really glad that they did not, like I said, they didn't screw this movie up. They made this perfectly. It just was such a great movie.
It's like a SpongeBob episode, really. Like, well, not exactly, but in the sense that for kids, it's those little like goofy moments that make them laugh. But then, like for adults, they understand like the deep meaning behind it.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I mean, not usually SpongeBob is just like a dirty joke, but you get the metaphor.
Well, that's the metaphor in SpongeBob is like pretty much every kid is SpongeBob, but when they grow up, they turn into Squidward, which is
Yeah.
definitely true in my case. I've definitely become a Squidward.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else have something to say?
I
Go ahead,
I
Holly.
have pages.
You have what?
I took notes. I have
Oh,
pages.
oh, okay. Go right
I have
ahead.
Tessa this time around.
Okay.
Because it was I don't know, this I could probably watch this movie every week for the rest of my life. Be
Okay.
totally content. Just because I feel like I need that reminder and to just, you know, one, I'm really bad at, you know, enjoying my passions and like letting them be more than something I love and let them be something that I do. My cat is about to knock down my light. Sorry.
That's okay.
Um, she has no balance. So. Um, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like you get caught up, and especially with this last year that we've had, we kind of all do. We get caught up in just trying to make it,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not, like you were saying, it's just we're not stopping and appreciating all of the little moments. And like what was said earlier is that Joe is seeing the memories that 22 made, and we think of them as 22's memories, but since he's back in his own body, they are his now, and he can see them, and he gets to have them again and kind of experience them with fresh eyes. And so as much as you want to, you know, you want to find something that you're passionate about, and you want something that you can really throw yourself into, and that's wonderful. And we all should do that and find something like that that just brings us that kind of joy. Um, but like what was that guy's name? The hippie dude. I'm not sure what he
It was the one, the pirate guy.
Moonwind.
Yeah,
Moonwind.
Moonwind.
Yes.
Yeah.
He said when joy becomes an obsession, one becomes disconnected from life. And I was like, oh crap. Because sometimes like whenever you sit and do something so much, it's not fun anymore, and that
Yeah.
kind of sucks. So I I don't know, everything about this movie, just it pushing you to have passion but not lose yourself in it, and not lose yourself in life. And kind of the mom was the other side of it, where she um was so focused on working and getting by and making sure that her son had a good job with
Yeah.
a pension and benefits and
The
all of this.
realist.
She was on, yeah, she was on
Yeah.
like that part of life, and he was on like the passion part of life. And no one, like, it's, and then you have 22 who is all about the little things and can't find her passion. And kind of what we need is to find somewhere in the middle of all three,
Yeah. Absolutely.
to just
Yeah, there's
kind of
like
be a
so
little
many
more measured.
layers. Yeah, there's like so many layers to life that it's hard to do all three. I mean, it's hard to keep track of all of them. Like, there's the simple things, and there's the passion, and there's what you need to get by, and then like you said, this year especially, everyone's stuck in their heads, like what they're gonna do because of what's going on everywhere else. So
Mhm.
I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
What I am scared of with this movie is that it's so good, but it came out so early in the year, and there are so many movies coming out. I'm afraid it's just gonna get buried. Like, we have a lot of movies. We have like Wonder Woman, and then or no, sorry, not Wonder Woman. Wow, Black Widow.
Yep.
We have. I mean, there was a list of movies that I was looking at, and I'm like, I think this movie came out too early in the year, but at the same time, it came out when it needed to because we're in the middle of this pandemic.
Yes.
So it's a hard movie to decide what part of the year you want to put it in.
Absolutely.
I think Pixar has so much going for them right now, and especially with the list that they showcased, or almost later last year, of the movies that they're going to be coming out with, that they realized that this was definitely a movie, and it's really smart for them to do this because Mandalorian just finished, and then having all like everything just huge stress ball, and knowing that 2020 has just been, it was not the year. So I think it was a really smart move to introduce this movie. It was kind of weird seeing a bunch of even animated characters being surrounded by people and walking downtown Manhattan
Yep.
as if nothing was like that. That kind of shocked me. Like when I watched it, I'm like, this feels uncomfortable. Like there should not be that many people outside. And then I'm like, Fiona, it's an animated movie. What the fuck are you going on about? Um, but yeah, it was just there were so many like realistic portions of that movie, and I kind of wanted to touch base on what Holland said about the mom and just being and Saj said it as well, that she was being very much of a realist. I think it was more on the lines of the fact that she saw like a lot in Joe as her husband, because her husband was a musician and
Yeah.
he went through it, and she even mentioned it offhand during the scene before she was going to repair his suit, was that like, I saw your father do this, like this store is what saved, like was able to keep your father and everyone else afloat,
Mm-hmm.
and what happens when I'm gone. So all she was trying to do was push him into a good job that paid, so she knew that if I had to close up the shop or if I pass away, that you have some safety. Which unfortunately, and I think it's mentioned a little bit in the movie, that there are some times where you need to realize what your dream is and what the reality is, and you still want to have that dream and you can still work towards that dream, but you still need to make sure that you're staying in reality at the same time,
Yeah.
because it sounds like Joe missed a few points during that, and I think he saw it during his museum moment where he kind of looked around and was just like, okay, I had witnessed a lot of rejection, and then a lot of like not like I took he took life for granted.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
no.
I
And
think
I,
she was just
He
making
said to his
sure. I think she was just making sure that his obsession wasn't overtaking his love for life,
yeah.
and and obviously,
Or also the
his
job
realism.
that he was
Yeah,
offered.
yeah, like just so the realism of long term well being
Yeah.
rather than the immediate satisfaction of getting of playing one gig. Really, is what he ended up realizing.
Yep.
Which like I when like it kind of made me feel like uncomfortable at the very beginning, and I'll explain why. Because they're like, you're not a temporary person anymore, you're now like, you have a full-time job, here's a salary, health benefits and everything. As someone who works salary with health benefits and realizing like this is not something I'm passionate about, I'm just like, okay, I know this is not where I want to be in the next 5 years for
Yeah.
sure. Is it
Hmm.
something I want to do that's not going to have any of those benefits? Probably. But it's uh, it's just kind of like disheartening when you like, I remember when I signed my contract where I'm like, I feel like I'm signing myself away.
Yep.
Like that's, so I
Hmm.
understood where he was coming from, and I'm like, this is, I don't know, maybe this is the reason why this is not probably one of my top Pixar films, because it was too personal to me that I'm just like, nope. And then I just like, I don't need this realistic nonsense in my life. Like
Yeah.
I want to stay in a like a rose-colored glass dream world where none of this is actually happening to me. Thumbs up.
Yeah. Holland,
Yeah.
what were you gonna say?
oh, just earlier when they were talking about him just in his hall of him or whatever, his
Yeah. Yeah.
museum of memories. Um, that yeah, he went back to his mom, and the thing that struck her and really kind of turned her around on helping him was he said, I'm afraid if I died today, my life would have amounted to nothing. And that's because he had already died and they'd already seen that. And that it was really striking and also terrifying. And it just,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of what seemed to turn her. I only had, I had like one issue with the movie.
Okay.
And well, it's kind of two. One is not with the movie, one is with just what we kind of touched on at the beginning, is that it really didn't get much advertising.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it, and Carlos kept going, "Oh, I want to watch Soul. I want to watch Soul." And he kept bringing it up. I'm like, "What is Soul? What are you talking about?" And he pulled up where you just see like the kind of thumbnail thing, and he's like, "Oh, it's that." And I saw the design for the souls, and I was like, I hate the design of them. They look so bad. It
Yeah.
wasn't until they were in the context of The Great Beyond and The Great Before that they made more sense, and I didn't care anymore because the movie was just so good. Um, but yeah, I knew nothing about it, and he had to kind of like show me a trailer, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll give it a shot." But one thing we both talked about that bothered us was that that black characters keep getting put into animal bodies. And that was one thing that kind of irritated us.
Okay.
Is that because it happened with Tiana, she was a frog for most of the movie. And then for Joe, he's a soul.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And there
he's a
was-
cat for most of the
Yeah.
movie. And it
And
was
there was
like,
that movie a couple of years ago where Will Smith was a pigeon, and that's the entire movie.
Not a couple years ago. That was last year.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
last year?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
last year.
Wait, that was 2020 last year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah.
2020. I remember seeing the trailer for
2020
it.
is like 4 years long, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
it was just bothersome.
yeah, yeah. I'm same here though. Like I said, I went into it completely blind. The only reason I watched it was because I mean, you guys all know Ethan. He's like, Saj, you have to watch this. It's like the most. It's my favorite Pixar movie, and I'm like, well, I was just like, okay, I'll watch it, you know. And then yeah, it just didn't get good advertising because I had never even heard of it until you mentioned it. So
Well, yeah. If I recall correctly, they were originally planning on putting this movie out in June in theaters, and then Corona had happened, and then they pushed it to December in theaters, and then they had seen. They were hoping that the Pixar movie Upward was going to do great on.
Onward.
Sorry, Onward, yes. Upward and Onward. That's why I keep mixing them up. Onward was going to do great because they had put it up on Disney Plus. And I don't think it did that well for Disney Plus. Like, I feel like Mulan definitely did better, but also because they were charging for Mulan. But,
Yeah.
It wasn't a movie either, so.
I mean, it was okay. It was all right. Again,
it was the movie.
was it?
Mulan.
No, Onward.
Onward.
Okay, Onward I loved. I thought it was great. But
Yeah.
Mulan, I was like,
Yeah, I was talking about Mulan too. I'm like, Mulan was definitely a movie.
Yeah, I think Onward what Onward had was a great cast of characters,
Yeah.
and definitely more characters than just
Yeah.
what we had here, which was just Tina Fey and Jamie Foxx. Which
I mean, there was a lot of people in this movie.
Yes,
Like, I don't know if
there is, but I'm saying more along the
Angela
lines of
Bassett.
yes, I would say, but more along the lines of like secondary characters. You know what I'm saying?
There's a whole B plot in Onward about their mom trying
Yeah,
to
trying
track
to
him down.
track him down. Exactly.
Manticore gets involved, and she's in like the rest of the movie, and that's like, I want to say 40% of the movie.
Yep.
Well, I mean, there was a partial B plot with the people from, like, the beings from the
Yes, the Great Beyond and the Great Before.
the Great Beyond, and they were trying to figure out
Fairies.
yeah, the Jerrys, and then the Terry. The Terry was
Yes.
trying to figure out who was missing, and then they found out that it was Joe, and I don't know.
I just feel like there was that B plot plot story was definitely less than what Onward's B plot summary was.
Mhm.
B plot story, sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like that felt like 10% of the movie as opposed to Onward's 40% of the movie.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Valid.
Yeah.
I always did laugh though whenever they brought up the Great Beyond in the little square. It would always be like, ah, and then like every single time, I like ongoing jokes like that.
Yeah.
Actually, I lied. I just had an epiphany. My favorite part of the movie is where Terry kidnaps that random guy and almost like
Oh
kills
yeah.
him, and it's
Well,
to be
Wrong
Diggs'
person.
character.
Puts him in a psychotic
back into
break
the real
and
world, and it's like you'll figure this out. Don't die. Sorry about that.
Yeah, don't eat processed foods.
This
I don't
guy's
know.
like freaking out in public.
Yeah. And go ahead, V.
Oh no, I'm gonna be honest, guys. This was definitely not my favorite Pixar film, and it's probably not in my top 20. Like,
Oh,
it's
ooh,
like
okay.
it's there's some things about this that I'm just not a huge fan of. Like, I think the representation in Death in Coco was way
I
exponentially
agree
better
with
than
you
this
on
movie.
that.
Absolutely,
I
100%.
Yeah,
And
of
I
so
course.
liked this
then
movie, but like for some reason I like forget about it instantly when I'm not watching it. Like I have a huge
that's my problem.
summary of it so I can remember characters' names and stuff. Um
Because oh, continue.
I don't know. This is like one of the first Pixar movies where I don't have like a strong feeling about it. Like normally I'll either hate something like the sequels or something like Cars 2, or I'll love it. And Soul, I finished it and I was like, that was a pretty good movie. And I've never like just like not even been like good movie to a Pixar movie. Like I either love it or I'm like, why would you make a sequel to Finding Nemo? It was perfect. Um, and I don't know. There's something about Soul
There's
that I just didn't fall in love with like everyone
it,
else has.
You know, now that
it
you
didn't really hit me.
now that you say that, John, that's exactly what happened to me. Like I saw it and I was like, "Wow, this was a really good movie." And then I'm currently trying to figure out like points of the movie that I really like besides of what I've already said. And it's kind of hard for me to realize like what like I remember the movie, but like I don't remember all of it.
And I don't think it
Yeah.
does anything wrong, but I don't think it does anything extremely good. And the problem with Pixar is that when they're good, they're always everything is extremely good. And I felt like especially the soul designs, not so much like the interdimensional concepts, I really like those. Those were fun to watch, but like the soul designs just felt like this is generic 3D cartoon blob.
Wow. Yeah,
Well,
See,
okay.
Like
I think
That's why I didn't want to watch it in the first place.
yeah. Like my issue was they had such a representation of Beyond Death in Coco. Then they had Wreck It Ralph, which had an older male character with a sassy little girl sidekick
was that
going
Pixar?
through.
yeah. No,
Mhm.
Yep.
no, that's I
No,
think
that's
that's
Disney.
regular Disney.
Yeah.
But it is that
The
big
Disney
massive
universe.
blob that
So
is it's CGI
yeah.
AAA film
Yeah.
So
animated
like
film.
they have like these films that have like it represent like to me when I was watching it, I'm like, this reminds me a lot of this particular Pixar Disney film. But then there was just like particular points where they definitely like the story itself, like when I was watching it, I'm like, this is kind of cool. It's about trying to to not take life for granted and realize that maybe something that you thought was your dream might not be your dream. And so you might find something else that might actually be your passion. And like I really like that. Like I know when it comes to Pixar films, they always try to find like a moral at the end, even though they might not just say like it was this. It's like here, this is like what it is. But I just it was good. I wasn't exactly thrilled at the end. Like there are so many other Pixar films where I was just like I need to sit down for like an hour and just like take a moment to myself because it was like there was just so many things that happened. But with that film, like I watched it this afternoon again and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I watched it. Yes, I watched it on Tuesday, and I watched it the day it came out, January 1st. Or was it Chris? I watched it
Christmas.
New Year's Day.
Mhm. I think that's when
And
it came out.
I had that feeling where I was like, maybe the second time I'll enjoy it more. And I did a little bit, and I noticed some things more, but I still found it hard to like stick with it and pay attention, especially on that second one. And something else I noticed is like I was looking up like who directed the movie, and it's Pete Docter. The last movie he made was Inside Out,
Yeah.
and I clicked on that to look at it, and then like the Inside Out poster like is so much more like the character designs in Inside Out are so much more expressive
Hmm.
than compared to the designs of Soul, and like that's just by looking at the poster itself, and I feel like that's kind of like indicative of like my issues with the movie is that I like animation so much for the animation, the movement, the character
Yeah.
designs, and I felt like Soul is a little too down to earth for a children's CGI film.
Now,
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Actually, I think this one was catered a little bit more
To
to
adults.
adults, yeah, and
Mhm.
their struggle rather than like most Pixar films where it can be like you can get lost and forget about
Mhm.
all your worries for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
yeah,
While yeah, in this one it's like, oh, this is really like adults go through this all the time, and then
Mhm.
you're not really forgetting about it and loosening up. You're kind of stressing about it a little bit more.
Like, I feel like this is gonna sound silly. I feel like they added the cat element to make it more pointed towards kids. But for me,
Hmm.
I think it would have been kind of cool if they had like
both.
Joe as like his spirit character following like himself with 22 being in the body and then him being like talking on their shoulder like almost
Oh,
like a
like a
angel versus
devil
devil
angel,
kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then him kind of being there because like the whole cat element kind of threw it off for me, and then them having like spirit guides that are actually live people that are taking like people who are
Yeah,
like stuck. That kind of like
Mhm.
there was just a lot of like back and forth that made it almost disjointed to me in a certain way
Yeah.
because like how did people who are live actually have access to this? And then like I thought that whole scene where they had the person and realizing that this creature is actually just a person's soul just being stuck in this like limbo of I hate my job, I hate my life, and then them finding a way to like cheer that person up. Like I thought that was a really cool concept. But then I found that it just seemed like it was just a thrown in element in certain portions, especially with Joe still being alive. Like he's a live character. Like he
Mhm.
was alive playing at the piano and then he found a way to like find himself in the in between. I'm gonna say in between. And he like found the guy on the boat. He found Wind on the boat. After he played on the piano, and then all of a sudden now he's considered dead again. Like, isn't the
Yeah.
people in that particular realm like that confused me?
Did feel
Um,
really weird that like there's a system for like how souls are like put into the great beyond and how they're assembled in the great before, and then there's just like this boat floating around being like, oh, we got a wayward soul, and there doesn't seem to be like any of that connecting to the beings being like, here, you got to get yourself all your stars filled up so you can get a body and be born.
yeah,
And there was no attempt to like explain how those sections are connected, because you could have like been like, oh yeah, this happens sometimes and they have something that takes care of that, but also there's just this crazy guy that just like will zip in and out because he really likes spinning boards. But it just felt weird that like that section, it feels so disjointed from the rest of the movie, and it's so
yeah.
important because it's how
Yeah,
he
it's a
also
little bit
gets back to Earth.
yeah, it's a little bit inconsistent, like
Yeah.
for him to do it, he just lays down, like he just falls over, like he croaks again. Joe does, and then Moonlight is still doing the sign spinning thing, like he's not even gone. So that, yeah,
Mhm.
there's some inconsistency there for sure.
Yeah. And I think like one of my favorite portions of the film, like I'm very much like a visual person. I love animation, like art's my thing. I literally do art. But it was the point where like 22 as Joe just sitting on the sidewalk and looking up at the tree. I'm like, this is actually my favorite part of the film. Just like
It was
them
beautiful
taking a
too.
moment and realizing that this is life. Like this isn't just like some crazy thing. Like it's not like me having to pick soccer or like philosophy as something, but this is like literally just because I find myself doing that in certain moments, and I know everyone does, where you just take a moment and you like everything feels like it stopped for a second, where you realize like everything else is like somewhat bullshit. Like I could be doing like cool money, like everything, like have be the stress that I have. Like obviously mental health is like nuts. I understand, but just being like realizing that like that's a living thing. Like that tree there is a living thing. Everything around me is living. And then just taking a moment to take a deep breath and being like, this is cool. Like being in a physical body, being here at this particular point in time is insane. And so I think 22, that was the moment where 22 was just like, I want to be human. She said that she or they had been talking about the fact that they've been there for thousands of years and couldn't just appreciate life, and now they appreciate life not because of soccer, not because of an insanely huge city, not about music, but just having these like little moments
Oh,
within a certain short period amount of time, like
let me
really
just
just that particular point just made the film for me.
give me one
Yeah, I
second,
mean,
guys. Hold on. Uh, Jess, could you give us a couple more minutes? I'll let you know when to come in.
My bad.
That's all
Didn't mean
good.
to join.
That's all right.
all right. Yeah. So what I was gonna say was, I agree. Like, that that part of the movie, that specific scene was great. Also, just to add one more thing on that is, that seed that she was holding. I think 22 felt like it had like she had a connection with it because that was basically her.
Yeah.
It was a seed, and it's gonna turn into a tree or a plant, and that's where she is if
Yeah.
she goes
That fell
back.
from something, like fell
Hmm.
from a high space down to earth and is
Hmm.
now going to
It's the
become a
potential for life.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's when it clicked to her, where she's like, "I want to live. I want to be a yeah."
And that's what John had said something before that they didn't really do anything great in this movie. I would say the realization for 22 that like she actually does want to you know become a human and actually live life. That I think was the one of the best things that they did in this movie, which was like for me it gave me a new found appreciation to just stop and smell the roses. Like life is very, for me, my life is very mundane. I go to work, I come home, and I don't do anything, go to sleep, and then go back to work. So,
I Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
Well, I
Oh,
was just,
I used.
go ahead,
No, go
sir.
ahead. Okay. I used to go on this hike a lot, and I would always try and make it by sunset. And I remember, and this was 2 years ago. I used to go like every week, and I would always go there and just enjoy the sunset. Time would stand still, and I haven't had time to do that lately. And watching this movie made me miss that. Just to enjoy like a sunset and sit on a rock and
Yeah.
not just kind of just forget about the stuff that's on the bottom of the hill. And yeah, this movie definitely makes me kind of want to go back to doing that because it's just kind of like it shows how beautiful life can be without materialistic things. And,
Yeah.
you know, playing gigs or I mean, I guess for me, video games and watching movies, we can like just go outside and forget about that for a little while
Yeah.
and enjoy life at its simplicity, I guess
Yeah.
you could say.
Exactly. And I do agree with Holland in the sense that like this movie shows me that I should be appreciating things. So I think that it is something that I will be coming back to. Just Holland, no offense, but not every week because I feel like
Yeah, not
that
every week.
that also plays a part in like the repetitiveness of I guess life, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I did have one question for you guys. Do you think you would feel differently if you saw this in the movie theater? If Corona didn't happen and if they sent this out in movie theaters, would you have felt differently if you saw it in the movie theater?
No.
No? Okay.
Mm-mm.
John, what about you?
I I think I would have felt more involved in the film because I noticed that because I'm watching it at home and I was checking my phone every so often sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, I was a little more distracted than I would have been seeing it in the theater. But I don't think my feelings would have changed too much because I think the best parts of the film were the parts I was paying attention, the extremely quiet and focused parts. Um, and somehow like even those parts didn't like extremely excite me.
Okay. All right. What about you, Holland?
No, I think if anything, I maybe would have felt even more moved by it,
Mm-hmm.
even more so than I already did. I think just for being in a theater and having it on that huge screen and all the sound around you and everything, that's just really impactful. I think I would have been a little disconnected with a bunch of kids laughing at a bunch of the different jokes, and
Yeah.
that would have been about it for me. But otherwise, it's I connected with it, and I think I would have connected with it regardless.
Okay. Fiona.
I don't think so.
Okay.
They're kind of going back and to like I've watched a number of Pixar films just at home and not in the movie theater, and I felt more connected to those films
All right.
than I did this one. For example, I pretty much couldn't watch Up for like probably almost like 6 to 7 years because I couldn't make it past the first 10 minutes. And so movies like that, Wally, um, and just I know I mentioned earlier Coco, but just as a comparison with Pixar films, because that is one way that they've already represented the afterlife. So it's probably the best option in the Pixar repertoire of comparisons. Like I watched Coco from home and cried like a little baby a lot watching that film. I probably got a little bit like I got a little bit emotional when 22 consumed Joe, and then hearing all of the voices in her head. But other than that, it just I don't know what happened. I just
Okay.
didn't get as connected as
Uh,
I thought I was going to because I was expecting to cry because everyone's like, "You're gonna bawl," because I'm an emotional person, and I'm like, I don't know what happened.
Okay. That's fair.
I was prepared. I had Kleenexes.
Yeah. I mean,
I
I,
had sweet.
I was also prepared to cry for this, and I was almost there, and then it didn't happen, which kind of sucks. You need a good cry sometimes,
Yeah.
which is why I got uh, Toy Story 3 over here, just waiting for me to throw it in the PS5.
Man, I just remember that there was a fourth Toy Story movie.
Like,
It's
quite
pretty funny.
frankly,
The
I don't
fourth
know.
one's good too.
Say that again, Fee?
The fourth one is good.
Fourth one is really good, but I think the most impactful scene for me in Toy Story, in all of Toy Story, is them holding hands in the incinerator. And
Oh,
you hear,
Yeah, because you actually think it's
I
gonna
fully
happen.
expected them to
Mhm.
die. I fully expected that to be the end of the movie.
and then the fade in
Um,
of "You Got a Friend in Me" just fucking hits, and I just
Mhm.
start crying like a little
honestly,
baby.
the scene that makes me cry the most is Andy passing the toys over and talking about
Oh,
how much the toys
Yeah,
meant
that's
to
Yeah.
everyone.
that's another
That
one.
like them like almost dying, like I was like on the verge of tears and I was like getting choked up, but him explaining it, I was sobbing. I watched it at a drive-in and I'm sorry to the people who were sitting around my car, like in different cars. I was like in hysterics. It
I,
was rough. It was a rough watch.
I was
Yeah.
I believe my cousin had taken me to see that movie. I was hysterical,
Yeah.
and it's regular little children watching this movie, and they're like they don't know what's going on. Some of them don't know what's going on. They're just here to see a Disney movie, and I'm over here like, no, like this is my childhood. I probably have watched Toy Story 1 about 1,000 times, just because like that was my favorite movie when I was younger, and I think I broke my VCR because of that movie. So I have a very strong connection to Toy Story, and oh
I
man,
I was in the theater watching Toy Story 3 a month before I was going to my first semester of college, which that movie is also like the last day before Andy goes to college, and I
yep,
was like, this is like the perfect like way to end this franchise, in my life specifically.
Yeah.
it's fucking
Yeah,
hits
my
hard.
mom when I went to college, my mom gave away all my DBZ toys, and I got very upset.
And I think like remembering Toy Story 3 like just really highlights how weird it is that like this movie I was expecting to get something similar to that from this movie and I didn't. And like I felt a lot of hard things in like Inside Out and I felt a lot of intense things in Coco and I really expected something like that from this movie and I just didn't get it somehow.
Yeah. Like if someone plays Coco, like Remember Me.
Oh gosh, I'm Hispanic. My parents listened to music like that all the time growing up. Like that hits me so hard.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think the scene that would have done it for me is when he confronts his mother because like I know that feeling of like your parents being like you got to do the safe thing so you can like take care of yourself when I'm gone and like
Hmm.
it was almost there for me but not quite.
Yeah, I have
Uh,
yet to. Sorry, Sash. I have yet to have that conversation with my family, where it's like telling them, "No, I'm not taking the safe job. I'm going to pursue my passion." And with Hispanic parents, it's kind of different, where they will like slap you upside the head and tell you, "Are you effing stupid? No, you're going to take the job whether you like it or not." Kind of like also in this movie, but I feel like that's a tough conversation that I'm going to have with my family, let alone my parents. And I'll probably get there one day, in a couple years, just not now, you know?
yeah, I'm very fortunate. Usually Indian parents they'll uh be like, no, you have to do this, you have to do this, and really strict about making sure that you're financially and just you have everything you need for if they're gone. Um, when I had that talk with my parents, where I'm like, well, maybe I want to pursue this instead of this or this instead of this, my families would always say, I will support you no matter what you want to do. So I was very fortunate, and a lot of my other Indian friends, their parents are not like that. But I do see uh, where she's coming from at the same side.
Yeah,
Uh, it's her son, and she doesn't want to have him struggle like his father did. So,
absolutely.
mhm.
I see both sides, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but I understand what both sides are saying. I just wish that Joe had a, uh, how do I put this? I just wish that Joe didn't have to hide his true feelings about life and his life and how he should pursue his dreams and goals. I wish it was better than him hiding it from his mother.
Like he was forced to
Yeah,
uh, because there was the rip in the pants.
correctly.
So
I just realized something. An important part of Joe's story doesn't get resolved, and that's when he's disillusioned after his first performance. Um, and he's like, "Oh, so what do we do next?" And he's like, "We come back in and we do it all over again." And they never reveal what he decides to do from that point. I don't think. Like, did we find out whether he's gonna stick with a safe teaching job because they seem to imply that like he does have a love for teaching,
Yeah,
especially with that scene with the girl that almost quits. But I don't remember if they ever show like what happens after he like gets to live again if he decides to stick with like playing music as a performer.
yeah, all he says is, "I don't know. All I know is I'm gonna enjoy every bit of it." So you don't really. It's like an open-ended
I
ending.
do
Like,
guess that
yeah,
Um.
that is the
Yeah, that's
point.
the point. It's
Yeah.
because if we were given one definitive answer, that's kind of like saying that the right answer is the passion, or the right answer is the stable job,
yep,
or the right answer is, and to leave it open ended just kind of allows for everyone who's doing it to write their own ending for that
Hmm.
character and for themselves. And I think that's kind of the point of that
yeah,
story.
Every
they pulled an
Pixar
Inception.
film, every Pixar film has a title card at the beginning, and you'll notice that the title card is actually at the end of the film because it's actually indicating that that's the beginning of his new life.
Yeah,
Oh.
that makes sense.
Pretty
That's
good,
really
yeah.
cool.
Makes sense.
Huh.
Saw that.
I did have one thing I also just noticed too is and it's a really 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 small thing, where when 22 first goes into Joe's body, she's like, "Oh, I have your braid," and there's this girl named Lisa, and I'm like, "Okay, why did she have to say that? If like, it would be
Yeah.
really cool if she went back, like because she's in his body and she's doesn't have all that anxiety or whatever that he has.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe she would call her and they have some connection, and then when he goes back into that body, maybe he can continue having that connection with so-called Lisa, but instead they just made it a one-line thing, and you're just like, okay, so why did they even put that line there in the movie if there's nothing that's gonna it's just completely irrelevant to the rest of the movie. So that's just one thing I noticed. It wasn't a big deal, but it's just something I noticed.
Yeah, I also noticed that, and I was like, at the end, well, yeah, what happened with that? And kind of disappointed that they didn't get to anything with it, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I wasn't too upset about that. Like it gave him a little more, there's like that relatability of like that kind of, this flame that is still there and, at least in his mind.
Or like
And
maybe the one that got away or something like that.
yeah, and whenever it gets to the end, he's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna live every minute of it or whatever. It that's another option. And I really wanted to make a pun, but I'm gonna refrain. It's eating at me.
Okay.
Nope, I'm gonna do it. He has the new Lisa on life.
Ah.
Well done. Well done.
Oh yeah, that one.
Thank you.
I give that one a good score.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary people, I unfortunately it's that time of the podcast to end it. So yeah, that's a really bad segue, but it is what it is. We're gonna start doing some plugs. Holland, do you want to plug anything?
Um, no, my Grizzly Expressions on Instagram.
Okay, cool. Fee, any plugs?
Yeah. My Twitter is Zeranix. Z for Canadians, but for Americans, it's ZURANIIX, but also showing at the bottom right-hand side. I'm actually going to start streaming in 30 minutes on my
Oh,
Twitch
nice.
channel as well. I'm going to be playing Immortals Phoenix Rising with Fee because my nickname's Fee.
Well done. Well done.
Also, on Sundays and sometimes Mondays, I'm actually on this channel and we talk about Attack on Titan Season 4. Because
Yes.
it is amazing and super
I
duper
will be
awesome.
catching up on that.
It is going to be spicy this week, boys. Spicy indeed.
Let's hope.
It will be.
Okay. Okay, good. That's all you have to say. I recently checked the YouTube channel, and we have 100 views on our last episode, which is the highest my channel has ever gotten. So, yeah.
Good. That's good. Yeah. That's a
yeah.
milestone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very excited about that, and I'm excited for the rest of the season, and I can't wait for that. Sash, any plugs?
No, not this time.
Okay, cool. John, any plugs?
You can find me at Twitter at Noisy Shark. That's at NOIZY Shark. I have a capture card and a microphone, so at some point in the near future, I will be uploading videos to YouTube. My first video is going to be about how I am playing almost every single mainline Mario game. At least, definitely the main trilogy of 1, the American version of Mario Brothers 2, Mario 3, Super Mario World, Super Mario 2, World 2, Yoshi's Island, and then the Mario 3D collection, 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy.
Wow.
Everything after that is a little harder to get. I just kind of want to track like Mario from the very beginning up until like Galaxy.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be like how the video game industry has shifted throughout all of those games.
Wow. Can't wait for
It's really
that.
neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I got nothing here to plug but what I've said at the beginning of the show. We got a couple new shows coming out this year. MCU WandaVision show coming out, I think, the Monday after WandaVision comes out, which is going to be great. I think my first guest, me and Eric are doing guests each. So my first guest is actually going to be Holland, which is going to be fun. We got the anime show that Ryan is doing, which is going to be great. I can't wait for that. And like I said before, Eric's Destiny podcast will be coming back. Definitely want to get on Eric's good side and make sure that he's content and happy, because that man, believe it or not, I owe him a lot of thanks, because he actually has helped me through a lot with doing the podcast and stuff. So, yeah, Eric, thank you. All right, that's all you're gonna get out of me. That's it. Thank you guys for joining me and talking about Soul. Really appreciate that. We will see you in a couple more minutes. We are talking Cobra Kai season 3 after this, which is gonna be great. Yeah,
I joined, but I just finished season 1 last
that
night. So
that's totally
Yeah.
fine.
Oh,
Don't worry.
you'll love. It gets pretty intense next year.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited for you.
yeah.
I'm excited to catch up on the show.
Okay, cool. Have a good night, guys. Bye.